Good evening, and welcome to a live podcast hosted by Bob Pace. We're here to fight the child protection system and stop taking our children. Yes, you're right. CPS does kidnap and traffic our children. They'll traffic them right into foster care, and they'll kidnap them, and they'll alienate you from your uh, mother and father. The children are alienated. And how they do that? By not saying anything during the case. They keep the children in the dark. They keep the parents in the dark. You're not allowed to discuss things with each other. There's no meeting when you get together. Yes, you have visitations, but they're strictly watched and they're strictly enforced that nothing can talk about the case. Hi, Tori. Welcome back. Tori was talking to me early this morning. He's from Utah, and he has a case involving 3 children, and he has a girlfriend, and he's had this continued case with Child Protection Services. So, Tori, if you can hear me in a few minutes, I'll have you call in because I know you want to finish your story. You were talking to me this morning. Now, what I'd like to do is tell everybody how they interact with this podcast. I'm here to help you. I have experience with CPS for almost 15 years. And I had a case. They took 3. I'm a father, family man with 6 children, been married 31 years, and I have older children and younger children. And the older children were fine during the time that they took my younger children, but they were taken and they weren't in extreme danger. They were taken right away and put into foster care. And you're going to discover how CPS really is. But I'd like to go over how they interact with this podcast. Now, one way is just by listening. Just by being in the room, you can interact with this podcast. It's real simple. You just take notes and you hear what I have to say or other people that talk in the room, plus there'll be comments. Now, if you want to interact, you can write a comment. Now, it's very important that when you text in a comment that you're pertaining your questions or comments up to CPS, the Child Protection System. The Child Protection System is the branch of social services that's enacted by Congress to protect our children from neglect and abuse, and also bring the family back together in family reunification. That's something that the latter doesn't like to do. You're going to find that CPS are very difficult to deal with. You're like Alice in Wonderland. You've fallen in the rabbit hole and you're going from room to room. And you meet the Chester cat, and the Chester cat confuses you. You ask a question, they tell you something different. They will not honor your constitutional rights or your civil rights. They'll violate them. The CPS will. They're very corrupt. They retaliate it, and they lie. The whole goal is to run a $1 trillion business. I'm talking trillions of dollars, not billions, not millions, but trillions. Trillions of dollars. That's why they take the children. They prey on people like that. So I'm talking about how they interact. I say comments. And so please show your name, city, state, or country. Yes, that's right. I say country. We're open to everybody in the world. You found me on Facebook and our YouTube, Fight CPS with Bob Pace. I broadcast on Facebook using the StreamYard application. The StreamYard application. Now, when I say country, just because it's international, we have people from all over. I've had Mozambique, New Delhi, India, and then I've had the continent of Africa. I've had several countries there. I've had the province of South Africa text in. I've had the country of Mozambique text in. That's off Madagascar on the east side of Africa. In the center east, next to Lake Victoria, I have Rwanda. And Rwanda, in 1994, lost 1 million people, and 500,000 were females that were raped. So it impacted millions of people in that small little country there. Then you go to the west coast of Africa up to Liberia, and I had a gentleman named Archie that texts in every so often about how he works with his kids and so forth. He's a scouter, so he's both boys and girls, because girls are now part of the scouts, and so they're called scouting. No longer it's called Boy Scouting because they got girls involved. Anyway, he has texted many times to the room. Going up to Europe, I've had England, Scotland, and Wales of the United Kingdom that have called in. I've had Denmark and Sweden. Then across the pond, I've had North America, where I've had Canada. And all the 50 U.S. states, including Washington, D.C., have either texted in or called in. And that's over 500 some people I've talked to. Also, I've had 2 social workers call in. And one was from Maryland, and she had a clinical psychology degree, and she supposedly was trained for 6 months in Maryland to know how to work with CPS. The other social worker was a third-party social worker that was hired out to help out CPS, and she says definitely she sees a lot of the corruption taking place. So I have talked to people, and I'm pretty accurate about when I say that they're not transparent and they are really bad shape. Now, going south of the border to Mexico, I've had one gentleman calling looking for his daughters in Louisiana, and he actually called in. Then across, then down below to South America, I've had Ghana, the country, small country on the coast, on the east coast, opposite Venezuela, north of Brazil. They have a coastal town called Georgetown, and they too have texted in. Then across the Pacific Ocean to the land down under is Australia. So I welcome all these countries. I welcome all these states and everyone in this room. So all I ask is you be complete with your CPS case, whether you text it in or whether you phone call in. Now, it's very important that you first start off with what your family's consisted of. Is it a husband, wife? Is it girlfriend, boyfriend? Is it lovers? Is it a partnership? Are both parents involved with taking care of the kids? Or are you a single mom or a single dad? Are all the kids born of the same parents? Are they different dads and different moms? Also, I need to know the ages and the sexes of the children, and then what the allegations were. Was it neglect or abuse, and the details of those allegations? Further, I want to know where you're at on your case. Also, I'd like to know how the children were taken from your home. Was it a court order warrant? Was it domestic violence where they had to break in because of the screaming and yelling, and maybe there was a weapon drawn or a child being slammed against the wall? Or do you just give permission to come in there? Or do you just give them permission? So I'd like to know that. And then where you at on your case. Now, if you can tell me all that, then we don't have to play ping pong ball, because I go back and forth. And I don't want to do that. I want to welcome Faye. Thank you, Faye. She says, hello, everybody. She says she's hope you're having a good night. And she says, hey, Bob, you look like you're closing your eyes a lot. Oh, okay, maybe my eyes are tired from the sun, but they're wide open. But thank you, Faye. Yeah, my eyes are probably glassy from being outdoors, I guess. And also try sitting up straighter. It might help. Thank you, Faye. I need all the help. Let me go ahead and arrange my pillows. I got too comfortable, Faye, and thank you very much. Hopefully that is better. And then I'm wide-eyed. Thank you for the comments. Faye is from Richmond, Kentucky, and she's been following me for a long time. She's a single mom. She's trying to get custody of her 23-year-old boy who is a special needs child. She also has found that where she lives in Richmond, Kentucky, it's very corrupt. She has a lot of stories to say. The police are corrupt. The child protection, they call it the Bureau, is corrupt. So she'll be able to tell you on that. She's also when she was brought up young, because of her mother, she had been put in foster care 5 times. And so she loves her mother, but her mother wasn't good for her. And so later in life, CPS didn't forget. And because she was in foster care, they started hassling about her daughter and her son, and she had to give up her daughter. She had no choice. And that was sad. That was really, really sad. Okay, I'm almost there, Troy, so I have you call in. We got a caller line lined up. And so now a third way of interacting with this podcast is that you can be a guest. You can be a guest on the podcast. That means you're going to be next to me up on the screen, and we can work together to solve your problem or problems of others to help other people. All you have to do is contact my show producer. Her name is Grace. She works really hard behind the scenes, and she'll help you get on. You need to pick one of my 14 shows. I'm on Monday through Friday from 10 o'clock in the morning Pacific Standard Time, except this week it's 9:45. I have a seminar that I'm attending. So the show starts at 9:45. It's over at 10:45, 1 hour Pacific Standard Time. Then at 7 o'clock at night, I come on at 7 p.m. to 8 p.m. Pacific Standard Time. Those are my show times, and I'm on 7 days a week, every day of the week. So all you have to do is tell the producer, the show producer, Grace, that I want to be on Bob's Wednesday morning show, or Bob's Monday evening show, or Bob's Saturday morning show, or Bob's Sunday evening show. So you just tell her the times and the days, and she'll take care of the rest. Now, it's important that you get her email. It's grace@vincentwdavis.com, grace@vincentwdavis.com. And that is her email. And she'll get back to you. She'll give you the link. I broadcast on StreamYard, and then also she'll tell you what to do and not to do on the show. Like there's no smoking, no eating, and you're not supposed to name children or attorneys or the judges in the court there. And so she'll tell you what you can do and not do. So she's really helpful and very friendly, and she'll help you there. Now, the fourth way, and that is the call in. And when you call in, it's 626-698-0990. And you'll reach my office phone. I do not talk outside of the time. So if you do call, I will give you a message when to call back in. You want to call in between my show times. And please be complete with your case so I don't have to play ping pong ball. I don't mind it, but it takes time. Now, I'd like to get started with our first caller. I promised Tori from Utah, Tori Johnson, who has a girlfriend. They have 3 children, and the latest child was taken while she was giving birth in the hospital. The other child were taken away earlier, but they have 2 different child protection systems involved with them. So, Tori, if you hear me, you can call in now, 626-698-0990. The phone line's open, Tori. You can call in. Okay. I'm open. There's another gentleman this morning that wanted to call in too. Actually, there was 2. There's Christina Reynoso that has a court case tomorrow. They had promised her kids back on the 22nd of August, but it looks like they're playing games with her and changed her mind, as they typically always do. And while we're waiting for Tori to call in, is there any particular subject you'd like to talk about? I have my rules. I have 5 of them now, thanks to Faye. And so I have those 5 rules. I also have my case I can talk about. Also, I have topics I can talk about, lots of topics. So we're waiting for Tori to call in. It's very important if you want to fight your CPS case. You want to make sure you document everything and do not let them in your home or speaking with your kids. Do not speak to the social workers. Don't speak to the police. Don't let you in your home. You need to know your constitutional and your civil rights. Now remember, when you're alleged that you did something, you're guilty until you're proven innocent. That's where difference. You know you're in juvenile family dependency court. That's where you're in. That's the law you need to be in. Now, there's all kinds of abuse or power. There's no fair due process. Keep that in mind. There'll be illegal searches and seizures. They will take your kids when they're not in imminent danger. They will come into your home. Now, it's very important that you know this. Listen very carefully. My rule number 3. Rule number 3 is you don't let them in your home. There's only 3 ways that police or social workers can get in your home. 1, you grant them permission, or another family member grants them permission. 2, there's domestic violence going on, shouting, screaming, hitting, hurting, child's present, child's being thrown against the wall. There may be a weapon, a gun, or a knife. They will enter the home, either the social worker or the police, because ongoing domestic violence. So that's the second way. The third way, they can enter it with a warrant. Now, that warrant has to be a court order warrant, not electronic warrant, not one that's copied or pasted over and things like that. That warrant is only usually the child protection person, the investigator, or the social worker, or the police have to sign an affidavit that they say the foregoing information is true, and that's why they need to search your home or take your child from your home or talk to you in your home. Now remember, your home is your castle, so you don't let anybody in your castle. And if you hear a knocking at the door, the best way to do it is hide. Don't answer the door. We've had 2 people killed recently. An Air Force man, 23 years old, on his phone, FaceTime, in Gainesville, Florida, when the sheriff shot him 5 times in the chest when he opened the door. Point blank. He died on FaceTime. Nice gentleman, very nice gentleman. Went to high school in Alabama, has a loving family, and now he's gone at age 23. He was serving our country. I mean, what more proud American can that be? And the police officer, he was fired a week later, but there's no prosecution yet. He should have been. There's no need to shoot people. The other one was a black lady that the officer thought that he was in danger, so he point blanked her 5 times in the face. In the face, he shot her. Now, I don't know about these policemen, but if they're good enough to shoot somebody in the heart or the face, they should be able good enough to disable them and not kill them. Shoot them in the foot or the arm is a lot better than shoot them in the face or your heart. So you don't let them in your home and you don't talk to them. If you're outside, don't panic. If they ask you questions, say yes, no. If it feels more uncomfortable, just say, hey, I need to take a time out. I need to consult my attorney about this matter before I go anything further. What is your name, social worker? You need to see their ID. They will lie. They will lie. What is your name? What is your badge number, officer? And you need to find their badge and see the number. Again, the officers will lie. They'll say another name, and then they think you're stupid or something. Now, can you fight a CPS case? Well, you're going to need a couple things to fight a case. You're going to need an attorney. You're going to need an attorney. All right, Tori. Good evening, Tori. For all your listeners out there, this is Tori. He's from he is from Utah. He has 3 children. He has a girlfriend, and he is fighting CPS. But he's fighting 2 CPSs. The first one, I think, is coming to a close. The second one was involved in a hospital. Am I correct, Tori?
You're 100% correct.
Okay, I just show you that I listened. Okay. Now, he had a question he asked me. Was there something else you wanted me to answer you?
So, yes. So, what are the people's rights? When it comes to stuff like that, like hey, what's your word called? Give me a second.
What are you trying to say? Can you come closer to the phone? It's hard to hear you.
Can you hear me now?
Yeah, I hear you better. What was the question?
Okay.
We seem to have a little bit of a connection. I lost you. Call me back, Tori. I lost you. We had a little bit of bad connection here. Let me try to get him. He's from Lehi, Utah. Well, I did have him. There he is. Can you hear me better now? Can you hear me? Okay, we'll try again. What is the question?
All right. So, yes. So, I wanted to know, what does they mean when they say failure to thrive? What are they trying to say?
Say that phrase again. I couldn't quite understand. Go ahead.
Okay, when they say my kid is a failure to thrive because he is not on a 3 percentile. He's pushed down to the 2 percentile. So they're trying to say he's failure to thrive. But what does they mean?
Well, that's a good question. You're saying what is fair to survive.
No, failure to thrive.
Oh, failure to
That's
survive.
failure to thrive.
Yeah, failure to thrive. THRIVE. This is your third child.
Yes, it is.
Yeah, and this is in Utah too.
Yep.
Okay. Failure to thrive in CPS cases in Utah. It means a medical diagnostic condition in which the child fails to develop physically. This condition is usually typical indication by inadequate weight gain. So is your child having trouble with weight gain?
Yeah, he's having trouble with that, and also on top of that, he has COVID. So I don't know. That could be
Oh boy,
playing a part of that.
He has COVID. Now, where did he get the COVID from?
He got it from daycare.
Oh boy.
Yeah.
I'm so sorry. How's he doing
that's the
with?
Thing I can think of.
Yeah, how's he doing with the COVID?
He's like I say, he's eating less and less. He's not really eating pretty much. He's not eating like normal pretty much. So that was a big concern for the hospital pretty much. That he was not eating.
Is he back at the hospital or is he still in custody going?
No, he's still at the hospital actually. He's still at the hospital. He's
Okay.
been at the hospital since Thursday.
Okay. All right.
Last Thursday.
Right. So he's back at the hospital trying to get better.
Yeah, I'll call the hospital. Right after I got off the phone with you this morning, and got in contact with the doctors. They said haven't really gained any weight, maybe like 2 to 3 ounces, pretty much as the farthest. So no progress on the weight gain yet.
What does the doctor say?
But he still have COVID.
What does the doctor say the problem is on the weight gain?
He said COVID could have a huge effect on that.
Okay. So what does the doctor say?
That's what he's saying.
Yeah. So does the doctor say that he is improving, or is he stable, or is he not improving?
He's not improving because they haven't seen any changes of him gaining weight.
Now, when you show up, does he recognize?
He came in the same weight.
Does he recognize you when you show up?
Oh, the doctor?
No, the child. Does he recognize you when you show up? Does he show a better attitude?
I haven't seen my child since Friday because of the removal.
Why are they not having visitations with your child, or even supervised visitations?
Because of the COVID thing, the CPS thing, we need to make sure it's careful.
Well, is the COVID restricting parents from seeing your child? Is that what the problem is?
That's what I'm trying to. That's what I'm actually trying to figure out. I'm trying to ask my lawyer to figure out to see is that the reason why? Because right now at this point, I'm really sick of trying to communicate, and I'm not trying to really talk to CPS about anything, pretty much.
Right.
They filed a petition for removal without even doing a thorough investigation. They didn't even know he had COVID.
Wow. How did they determine he had COVID?
The hospital said it. The hospital called CPS. That's what happened.
Well, if he's at the hospital, why was he still going to daycare?
No. This happened. No. Me taking him to daycare was the factoring of him getting COVID. That's where he caught it from.
Okay.
That's when we started seeing signs of him declining, pretty much.
Okay.
So that's when we took him. That's when I took him to his original primary doctor, pretty much, and we got a referral because that primary doctor, he didn't like the way his weight was, pretty much. So he made a referral to us to send us to the university hospital.
Okay, good. I have some.
That's when we took.
Yeah, excuse me a second here, Tori. I have someone that came into the room who's a regular visitor. Her name is Crystal Salazar. She's from Amarillo, Texas, and I think she's the mom that is being accused of molesting her son because the CPS group did retaliation against her because she complained to the CPS that the investigator, a man, told her 13-year-old daughter when he visited her at the middle school to take her clothes off. He was a pedophile. Of course, when the daughter said to her mom, "This strange man made me take off my clothes, I feel so bad." Well, then the mom called the CPS, and that man was, that investigator being a pedophile was fired. But the police wouldn't do anything. And on top of that, another social worker who's been a friend of that pedophile did a retaliation by having the mother be accused of molesting her son. And it's a miserable experience what Crystal Salazar is going through. I'm glad, Crystal, you came by to say hi. We've been worried about you. I do talk about your case all the time. She's from Amarillo, Texas. I got Utah. I got Kentucky. I got Texas in the house. Now, what are some other questions, Tori? How can I help you?
Yes. So okay. So here's the thing what's going on. I just wanted to update you. I told you I have some more information with you this afternoon. So I ended up calling my lawyer pretty much, and we're supposed to have a shelter hearing tomorrow. If you know what that is.
A what hearing?
A shelter hearing tomorrow at 1:00.
A shelter hearing?
Shelter hearing.
I think it's just, yeah, it's like a safety plan to put the child maybe with a family member.
Well, yeah, tomorrow's shelter is going to be determine whether the removal was it good, pretty much. Was the removal right? Pretty much. Was it pretty much accurate on the removal, pretty much? So pretty much the showing evidence I have against the removal tomorrow.
Now, what attorney is this? Your court-appointed attorney?
This is actually my attorney.
Oh, good. A shelter hearing in Utah is done in a juvenile court proceeding that determines a child's temporary custody within 72 hours of certain events. These events include the Division of Child or Family Services, DCF, removing the child from their home, the child being placed in protective custody, the child being placed in emergency custody, a parent entering a domestic violence shelter at the DCF's request, a motion for expedite placement and temporary custody being filed. Okay, so that is what a shelter hearing in Utah is. Does that help you a little bit?
Yes.
You want the child to be placed in your custody. That's the best spot. Now, if it isn't able to be put in your custody, do you have a family member, somebody that the child could be with?
I do.
Well, like an aunt, an uncle, a grandparent, a brother, a sister?
I have a sister.
Well, the reason why I bring that up is that it's always important to have the children first priority, and you want to make sure your lawyer emphasizes that the best parents are the biological parents. Now, you may not be married, but you're a girlfriend, boyfriend, you're trying to raise children. And so you have what I call a common law marriage. I mean, you guys don't have the paperwork, but you guys are committed to each other. So you definitely want to have him emphasize that the best, and you want to get some documentation to support it. it'd be nice if you could get a clinical psychiatrist to show up and say that the best parents are the biological parents. Somebody that has a PhD from a clinical psychiatrist with a PhD from some type of big university or something. I'm trying to help you here. So you have to build up your case. It's very important. But
So what would the clinical psychologist do?
well, he will testify in person and say that biological parents are the best parents to take care of the children. That is the number one priority. Not strangers, not relatives, not the foster care, not the shelters, not the group homes. What I'm trying to do is I'm trying to have you and your attorney find somebody that could testify, somebody of notoriety that could testify that the biological, see, it says that on the internet, but having a piece of paper is hearsay. You have to have the person actually testify that the parents are the best. You see where I'm going with this?
Okay.
I mean, you got to set up, being an attorney is like being a chess game. Attorneys is like chess. You have to decide many moves ahead how you're going to sell. You need to sell the judge. The judge is the one that makes the decision, not CPS. You don't need to convince CPS about anything. You need to convince that judge that's overseeing the case. And your attorney's got to present it so he can sit there and say, I like Dr. Jones to come before and testify that the biological parents are the best parents to take care of your children. Then Dr. Jones would come up and your attorney could cross-examine Dr. Jones and ask the question, who is the best? And how do you know that? Well, with my 20 years of experience working in the field or my PhD, I studied. I'm just trying to help you out there, Tori, because you got to build up your case. And also, you cannot testify in court unless you ask to, because you're not doing it pro se. You're having an attorney that represents you.
Okay.
So I'm just giving a heads up. Do they allow parents to be in the court while your attorney's in there hearing during the hearing to let you be in court?
Yeah, I'm going to be there. Yeah, I'm going to be
in California, they don't.
at 1 o'clock.
In California, they make you sit in the hallways. It's terrible.
That's crazy.
I know it is. You sit in the hallway and you don't know what your attorney is saying. You don't know what they're doing. You don't know what is being said. The only time you come into the courtroom is when they want to chop your head off. They're going to say, all right, Mr. and Mrs. Pace, please come into the court chambers. Are you guys ready to sign your life away? Are you ready to get your head chopped off? We are still in your children. Now, I'm exaggerating a little bit, but that's how the courts work in California. Parents are not allowed in the courtroom.
Awful.
All right, what?
But the issue, I have an issue.
What were you going to say?
Yes, but the issue is, as when I talked to my attorney today, so he have no discovery of, he don't have the evidence or the piece of the paper of the removal yet. He says have not sent over the copy of the evidence. So now,
well, you may have to ask your attorney. Your attorney may have to have a continuance, and then he's going to have to file a. I forgot what in Utah it is, but he's got to file paperwork that forces the evidence to be turned over.
Yeah, so we're having a hard time getting the evidence right now.
Well,
so
he has to file a form. He can ask for a continuance if they don't have that form. Let me see. The form to use in CPS cases in Utah to produce documents. Now, in Utah, it's called the Department of Children and Family Services. And they have a record specialist at Salt Lake City. But out-of-state caseworkers request an investigation, client and provider forms, background screening, request administration hearing, solicitate audience administrative request for allegation sealing, provider-only payment forms. You're going to have to ask your attorney to do his work. You're paying for him. You're hiring him. He needs to have them produce the documents, and there's a form he needs to fill out, a request, and he can ask for a continuance of your case. Is that making sense to you, Tori?
It makes sense.
Yeah,
it makes sense.
I'm not an attorney, but I think logically, and I piece things together. It's like a puzzle or a game of chess. And it's sad because you're dealing with CPS. I try to ignore CPS. You want to deal with the judge and your attorney. It's the attorneys in the courtroom, the judge that does everything. The social workers sit there and just gab and talk, and they don't care. They don't care. Now, have you seen this judge before? Yes,
I've seen the judge before.
Is he fair?
Well, I've seen her before, but what they was trying to do before this whole removal happened Friday, they was trying to move the case back up north where I had my previous case, which I didn't want pretty much.
No, you don't have to move. Okay, this is their fault. You have two cases. I explained to the people in the room when I first introduced you that you had two CPSs working. And, you got to keep them separate. If they try to move up there, that other one may be bad. This other one down here should never have been involved in the first place.
Yeah, they should have.
Yeah, I agree.
So that's what they was trying to do. They was trying to do because I already had court in place for Wednesday, for a hearing to see if the case going to go back up north or is it going to stay in Salt Lake.
Well, my question is, where is your home? Where is your home and where is your hospital your child's at? It's in Salt Lake?
It's in Salt Lake.
All right, then you should stay there because that's where your child will be familiar with this home and stuff. That's where you want to be.
But the state is trying to push it back up to the other judge in Davis County.
Well, you need to tell the other judge in Davis County, and the attorney's got to do the same, that Salt Lake has taken it on, and by them taking it on, it stays there.
That's what I'm trying to fight for.
Okay. Well, hopefully your attorney knows what to do.
Yes, she knows what to do about that.
Okay, good. So, what other questions do you have?
I don't have any more questions. I'll probably update you tomorrow, pretty much, because I
Sure.
have the little shelter here, so
okay.
So I know more information tomorrow.
Okay. Before you go, is there anybody in the room that'd like to ask Tori a question? Faye, do you have a question or a comment you'd like to make? Also, Crystal Salazar, do you want to call in and update us on your case? Crystal Salazar from Amarillo, Texas. Does anyone else want to call in too and ask a question? I knew there was a couple people. Reynosa was going to call in tonight too, but I don't see her here. In her case, her children supposed to be returned the 22nd of August. And so I don't see her here in the room.
So she run a case?
I'm sorry, what?
Did she win her case?
Well, she thought she did, but they're playing trickery. Faye says she doesn't have anything. So I just want to give Faye a chance. And Crystal Salazar, if you're still here, if you want to give us an update, that's great. You can call in. Otherwise, is there anything else you need, Tori?
That's it. I'll update you tomorrow night.
All right, well, good luck for you. I'll be praying, Tori. You will win. Think positive and make that attorney work for you.
Gotcha. Thank you.
Yep, good luck. Thank you for calling in.
All right. You too. Yep.
Okay, that was Tori from Salt Lake City, Utah. And he had another case further up in Davis County, and they're trying to take away. Plus, his child has COVID, his third child, and is not doing too well and has a problem with weight gain. All right, the phone is open. It's call 626 698 0990. Now, I would like to talk about some more of these social workers that, some examples. Now, I've talked about the pink ladies. And no, the ladies are not pink. They just wore pink t-shirts. They're white ladies. There were social workers, 8 of them, in Prescott, Arizona. Their service is called the Department of Children's Services, DCS. Anyway, they thought they'd be real cute and got pink t-shirts, and on the front had stenciled professional child kidnappers. That's right, professional child kidnappers. And on the back, they had, do you know where your children are at? Do you know where your children are at? And what made it so bad is they wore this out in public. They wore it to Walmart, Costco, Target, Best Buys, etc. And they paraded with that, and the parents were in alarms because that's what the social workers are. They're professional child kidnappers. And they thought that was funny. Well, they were fired right away, including the director of the Department of Children's Services. So that wiped out 9 people in that department, left them with only 1 person. So I'm telling you, that's your typical social worker. They're professional kidnappers. I mean, there are other social workers that have done stupid things. Like one social worker up in Chicago, Illinois, decided to put on her Facebook page a reproduction of an ad from 1848. The ad said the N-word, children for sale. Now, we can't use that on Facebook, but it means black children for sale. Now, the ad was 1848. I have no idea why in the year 2024 that a black social worker from Chicago, Illinois, it was poor taste on her part. It was poor taste. I think Faye said she talked to her, and her answer was some nonchalant that she didn't mean that. She was just trying to show some historical aspect. I think it's gross. I think it's terrible, and I think she should be disciplined. I mean, that was 1848. That's 140 years ago, 10 years before the Civil War. Why is some social workers thick skull or thick-headed that can't realize that is intimidating to put that up there? If she wanted to make a joke about it, she could have put a paraphrase or something. But that's not a joke. Anybody for sale is not a joke. Trafficking is up to yin-yang. There are college students that are being trafficking on their vacation trips. They're being drugged just recently. There's students that were drugged. There's students that are killed. Parents sent them off. You know, the Alabama girl that was beat up and killed. I mean, there's all this trafficking going in this world. There's sex trafficking. There's adult trafficking, children trafficking. I live in an area that's number 1 in the world for trafficking. And I have no idea why it is, but they have more people. I think it's because I live close to the container ships. I live close to the Port of Long Beach and Port of LA. It's a container shipping port. And they drug people and they put in there. But it's on the rampart. So we got to be careful with the trafficking. We got to be careful with the trafficking. There's medical trafficking. And that's my rule number 3 that I started to talk a little bit about opening the door. Medical trafficking is where you go to the hospital or urgent care because your child's really sick or ill. And there's a caseworker and they'll try to take your child. They can't do that. I don't know. I'm trying to emphasize. There's only 3 ways they can take your child. 1, you surrender your child. 2, there's domestic violence going on, your child's in imminent danger. Or 3, they have a warrant. And that goes for the hospital or the home. So don't let them traffic your children. Don't let them in your home, hide. Don't talk to them. Easy way to get out. If you're approached by a social worker, police, and you feel uncomfortable, say, time out. I need to have my attorney present. Anytime that you're charged by the social workers or the policemen, you're entitled to representation and you're entitled to having your attorney present. So you just say, time out. I need to speak to my attorney. So rule number 3 is no to social workers. No to policemen. Don't answer the door. I don't want to see anybody else killed. I think those 2 people were very unfortunate to be murdered like that. By the way, the second police incident of the lady that was shot in the face, he was fired that night, and then he was charged with first-degree murder. The other guy, the Gainesville sheriff guy, he was just let go, but he should be charged with murder too. It's ridiculous how policemen and sheriffs don't know how to shoot people. I mean, if they're supposed to be marksmen, they know how to shoot someone in the foot, but not in the heart or in the face. And why 5 times? I mean, how dead do you want a person to be? All it takes is 1 bullet to kill somebody. Oh boy. Anyway, I try to be energetic for you guys. I try to help you. My case was terrible. If you think the pink ladies were bad, you should think about my social worker. Unfortunately, in the year 2010, I lost my job through no fault of my own. And for 5 years, my in-laws, my wife's family, her mother, her father, her sister, and brothers were harassing me, harassing our family, that we weren't feeding our kids, we weren't housing our kids, we weren't sending them to school, we were terrible parents. Well, I had to prove every time I got a phone call, I had to prove, and I showed them time after time, year after year, that those things I was saying wasn't true. Those things I was saying weren't true. I had the grade reports that showed them they're in school doing quite well. I showed them the refrigerator. There was food in the refrigerator. There's a place for them to eat, place to prepare the food. But this social worker, when they got me, 5 years later, they tricked me and had a police detective have me pulled over, not by him, but black and white. And then I was told to follow him, and I should have known the laws about surrendering to them, because either they charged me with a traffic violation or a criminal matter crime, and they did neither of that. So this social worker we had was young. Faye had a young one too. And the social worker was on the stand because my wife's sister and her husband were trying to take our daughter, our 12-year-old daughter being adopted. And what's so sad about that is she's 22 now and we don't see her. And how it happened was this social worker was caught on the stand, and our attorney, I had hired Vincent Davis, my attorney, to get our kids back. And he was interviewing the social worker and asked a very very trite question. It says, has there been any domestic violence with my wife's sister or her husband? And the social worker says, no, they're great parents. No domestic violence. Well, Vincent looked into his briefcase and pulled out a folder that was an inch thick. In it were document reports from the police that said there was heavy domestic violence, not minor, but heavy. And that's where they wanted to put our daughter, with abusive parents. Well, she felt mud on her face when she lied, the social worker did. and she perjurized herself. She could be um, she could be sued for perjury. It's wrong. And if I had the money and I had the retainer, I would sue her because what she did was criminal about our children. She told our daughter, she said first to us parents, I'm going to get revenge. She didn't say I'm going to get revenge. She says, you are not going to see your daughter. And she was implying what we did to her. So she told her daughter, I want you to emancipate from your parents. That means divorce your mom, divorce your dad, divorce your brothers, divorce the rest of your family, your cousins, your aunts, your uncles, and your grandparents. Divorce them all. And on top of that, change your name. And she changed her complete name. And then seal your birth certificate like you're never born from us parents. She sealed her birth certificate, and then she was adopted into foster care. Now, she did all that at the urgency of the social worker. That's what a social worker is. They are revengeful. They are bad news. You do not want social workers. You have to be careful of them. Because a child of 12 didn't know about emancipation or about changing a name or sealing a birth certificate or be adopted in foster care. So she's 22 now. 9 years later, we still not seen our daughter. Our sons still see her, and we did get back her sons thanks to Mr. Davis. But that's a terrible example of social workers. They are not your friend. They will not help you. You need to protect yourself. I'm getting close to an end of my show now. It's almost 8 o'clock. And I know that most of you are still fighting your case. And if I didn't answer your question, please call in again tomorrow morning. I'll be on at 9:45 because I go to the seminar at 10:45. So it's 9:45 for the rest of this week. That is Wednesday, Thursday, and Friday. Then on Sunday, I'm on at 8 o'clock in the morning. Saturday be normal time at 10 o'clock. Then every night of the week at 7 o'clock this week. Next week may change a little bit because I'm starting to get into football season. So I'll talk more about that later. But, you know, I have a new rule. Rule number 5. I briefly talked about it this morning. Faye came up with the rule. You need to have all your license, your birth certificates, your social security card, your shot records, your school records of your children, even your passport, your driver's license. You need to make copies of everything. Have it in a folder with you because CPS will try to block it. They'll try to take it. So you got to have all those documentation. And it's very important. And I want to thank Faye for coming to that rule number 5. So again, I want to thank Tori from Salt Lake City, Utah, Tori Johnson for this phone call, and good luck with his case tomorrow. I want to thank Faye from Richmond, Kentucky for her advice and her help. She has bad cases of mosquito bites because they have bad mosquitoes in Kentucky. So don't go there if you don't like mosquitoes. I'm glad to see Crystal Salazar. You're back. I'd like to get more of an update. Welcome back. She's from Amarillo, Texas. And then we have, who else do we have in this room? I think that's it. We have a lot of silent people. I see you back there. I got a lot of emojis. Thank you. But keep fighting for your kids. Good luck. God bless. And I'll see you tomorrow at 9:45.